During the Memorial Day weekend, my wife, Claire Mercer, in an attempt to entertain her young male assistant, decided to make a spectacle of herself at a Sotheby's auction. She made it rain, dropping a staggering $9 million on a vintage Cartier diamond pendant. The assistant, Leo, immediately posted it to his Instagram story. Received the most meaningful gift of my life. A symbol of your heart. He added another slide. I'll never leave you, my dearest Madam President. I froze the supplementary black card I gave Claire and forwarded the screenshots from my executive assistant to her phone. Looks like you're having a relaxing holiday, Claire. So relaxing you seem to have forgotten the terms of our arrangement. Her text came a second later. Ethan, honey, whatever it is, I can explain when I get home. Please just unfreeze the card. You know, I don't have that kind of money on me. I'll point you in the right direction. Go find a stage and give them a pole dance. On account of you being Mrs. Sterling, I'm sure the tips will be enough to cover your bill. A minute passed. No reply. I sent her a link to a Bloomberg alert. The headline was about her family's company, the one my capital propped up, and how its market cap had just evaporated by $10 billion. Since she was so insistent on spending my money on her boy toy, I figured I'd make her pay it back tenfold first. One while Wall Street was still reeling from the sudden nosedive of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, a video call from Claire came through. Ethan, stop fooling around, she said, her voice tight. If I get up there and dance, it'll be a humiliation for you. Seeing the rage in her bloodshot eyes, I just gave a cold laugh. Claire, I'm only going to ask you this once. Are you going to dance or not? You made a choice. Now it's time to pay the price. You have 30 seconds. Otherwise, before I could finish, she hung up. Less than a minute later, my phone started buzzing with videos from my friends. In the clips, Claire was in a cocktail dress, her face a mask of shame and indignation, wrapping herself around a polished steel pole on a small stage, moving with a practiced grace that surprised me. Sterling, you're a legend. That's how you handle a woman who gets out of line. Damn, Ethan, you've got the magic touch when it comes to keeping your wife in check. You got to share the secret with the guys. Reading their fawning texts, I told them to delete the videos. Then I sent a message to Claire. Claire, remember who you are? And don't forget the 3 terms we agreed to on our wedding day. This time, she didn't reply at all. I knew she was furious. I didn't care. Ours was a marriage of corporate alliance, not affection. There was no emotional foundation. The power dynamic between our families was laughably skewed. Her parents were only interested in my money, and I was happy to use the arrangement to get my own parents off my back about settling down. That's why, before the wedding, I laid out the terms of our agreement for Claire. First, I will always protect your public image as Mrs. Sterling. Second, we will have children to be the heirs to my legacy. But third, you will have absolutely no say in my business affairs. As for you, your only job is to be Mrs. Sterling. Do what's expected of you and nothing more. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you can agree to this, we get married. If you can't, you can walk away right now. But once you leave this room as my fiancée, the deal is set in stone. I saw her lips part, about to argue, and I cut her off with a cold smile. Miss Mercer, let's be clear. Our families are not equals. You bring me no strategic advantage. If you refuse, I'll just write your family a check for their trouble and find someone else. It's that simple. Claire reluctantly nodded. She had no grounds to refuse. And for years, she played her part perfectly. She was a flawless Mrs. Sterling. We even had a son and a daughter. As a reward for her good performance, I invested in her father's company, elevating it into a multi-billion-dollar corporation. But I never imagined that after all these years of peaceful coexistence, she would so flagrantly cross the line. This whole affair with her assistant had breached my innermost boundary. His shameless boasting on social media was a thorn in my side. I don't permit anyone to covet what is mine, not even a glance. Toward evening, another text came from Claire. Attending a gala tonight. We'll be home late. I let out a cold snort and went back to my work. Later that night, my executive assistant forwarded another one of the pretty boy's Instagram posts. You're the gentle breeze I've always dreamed of. The picture was a selfie of him at some black tie event. He was smiling demurely, but his eyes were filled with smug triumph. From the lighting on his face, it was obvious a woman was taking the photo for him. At the same time, my friend Mark Callahan sent me a picture. It was Claire, in a stunning evening gown, holding up her phone to take a picture of Leo. The smile on her face was indulgent, doting. The corners of her mouth were turned up in a self-satisfied smirk. Her intentions couldn't have been clearer. Mark's text followed. Dude, what's going on? Looks like your magic touch is failing. In both photos, that $9 million pendant was impossible to miss. It was a declaration of war. A provocation. She knew perfectly well my friends would be at an event like this. She knew I would see it. Yet she willingly played photographer for him, even tacitly approving his defiant social media post, all to get back at me. She was using my reputation as a stepping stone for her little pet. I laughed coldly and opened my message thread with her. It seems I've been too lenient with you, Claire. You've forgotten your place. 3 minutes passed. Claire remained silent. A playful smirk touched my lips. I texted Mark. She's not looking at her phone. His reply was instant. She glanced at it and shut it off. You about to drop the hammer, Ethan? I sent another message to Claire. So you're giving me the silent treatment? I want to reply in 10 seconds, or you'll regret it. 10 seconds later, I sent her a photo. It was the divorce papers I'd had my lawyer draft ages ago, just in case. Ethan Sterling. Are you insane? It's just a couple of pictures. Is that any reason to lose your mind? Simultaneously, another text arrived from Mark. Holy SD dude. What did you say to her? She's so pissed her hands are shaking trying to type. I sent back a smirking emoji. Sit back and enjoy the show. After sending that, I called my head of security and had him take my 2 children to our estate in Connecticut immediately. Soon, another text from Mark came through. Whoa, dude, teach me your ways. Your wife just dropped to her knees looking at her phone. At the same instant, Claire's text arrived. They're your children too. Her messages were flying now, each word and punctuation mark laced with panic. She was clearly terrified. Call me. Now. Her call came instantly, her voice furious. Ethan Sterling, what the hell do you think you're doing? You've had your revenge for the day, so why are you dragging our children into this? Are they not yours? Before she could finish, I cut her off. Turn on your video. What are you going to do? I said, turn on your video. Claire hesitated for a moment, then complied. Seeing a number of familiar faces in the background, I spoke clearly into the phone. Gentlemen, long time no see. I hear my wife brought a new face to the gala tonight. Is that right? Claire's voice trembled as she rushed to explain. Ethan, honey, you've misunderstood. He's just my assistant. I let out a sharp, derisive laugh. What kind of boss makes it rain at an auction for their assistant, spending $9 million on a pendant? But don't worry, Claire. I told you I'd give you a chance to fix this. I hear there have been shark sightings off the coast of the Hamptons lately. I've lived this long, and I've never seen a shark feed on a person before. So, Mrs. Sterling, would you be so kind as to throw your assistant overboard for me? I'd love to see something new. To that night, the coastline was ablaze with searchlights, and the shouts of the Coast Guard echoed across the water. Mark's excited voice messages kept coming. Ethan, you're the king. You've locked down that domestic throne. Your wife is a piece of work, too. Grabbed the pretty boy by his hair and just tossed him into the ocean. You sure this kid isn't just part of some weird, kinky game you two play? Getting thrown into the sea like a bag of trash by a woman. If that were me, I'd never show my face in public again. Seriously, your wife-taming skills are next level. Let me buy you dinner for a lesson. Teach me the ways. Reading his messages, I replied half, jokingly. First, you set the rules. If they're broken, you bring the pain. You got the stomach for that. Not a chance. Mark and his wife were high school sweethearts. A genuine love story. He was completely whipped. My methods wouldn't work for him. By the way, he texted, I saw your wife jump in to save the pretty boy too. You're not worried about that. I can always find a more obedient Mrs. Sterling. Mark sent back, you're a stone-cold bastard, Ethan, and then went silent. An hour later, Claire returned, soaked to the bone and looking utterly defeated. She stumbled into the foyer without a shred of her usual composure. The moment she saw me, her red-rimmed eyes widened, and her chest heaved with fury. The boy is in the ocean, and the children are gone. Are you satisfied now? I was on a conference call, discussing a merger. I didn't even spare her a glance. Only after I hung up did she take a deep breath, visibly trying to suppress her rage. Ethan Sterling, I did everything you asked. What more could you possibly want? Say it. I lifted my coffee, glancing at her drenched clothes before letting out a cold snort. Our eyes met, and the fire in hers was instantly extinguished by the ice in mine. She collapsed onto the floor, hugging her knees, her voice raw. Even if I was wrong today, don't you bear any responsibility for utterly humiliating me and trying to destroy me? If the rescue team hadn't been so quick, I'd be facing manslaughter charges. What is it you really want? I looked down at her, my expression cold. Are you sure I'm the one who humiliated you? Weren't you the one who violated the terms of our agreement first? Her face was a picture of despair. It took her a few moments to speak. Leo Vance is just a kid who graduated from college. What could possibly happen between us? After all these years of marriage, you still don't trust me? Claire, I can choose to believe your words, but your actions have left me deeply disappointed. Do you think that pretty boy could earn $9 million in 100 lifetimes? You can't even produce that kind of cash yourself, yet you were willing to buy him something so extravagant. Making me pay for another man's luxuries is one thing. But what is his status that you, Mrs. Sterling, would jump into the ocean to save him? Have you given a single thought to your own position? Claire frowned, looking up at me with a sense of grievance. I just felt he wasn't focused at work these past few days. I wanted to cheer him up, so I made a grand gesture as a joke. I didn't think you'd actually take it seriously. I don't understand why you're so angry. It's not like I cheated. I looked at Claire and laughed coldly. What kind of God is he that it takes $9 million to make him happy? Can you guarantee he wouldn't think you were sending him a signal, that he wouldn't get ideas he shouldn't have? Without your indulgence, he would never have even entered my orbit. But now he dares to challenge me on Instagram, and I refuse to believe you didn't see it. Respect is a two-way street. Since you've already ground my reputation into the dirt, why should I bother preserving yours? I placed the divorce papers on the coffee table and looked at her seriously. Claire, if you genuinely have feelings for him, you're free to sign these and leave. Seeing the words divorce agreement, she finally broke down and started to sob. I didn't. Tell me, do you remember the terms of our agreement? She nodded, repeating the words through her sobs. My knuckles tapped against the divorce papers. In a marriage of alliance, I don't deal in feelings, only in responsibilities. You failed to uphold your responsibility as Mrs. Sterling, so of course, I will punish you. I will even divorce you. Claire wiped her tears and suddenly threw herself into my arms. I know I was wrong. I calmly flicked the ash from my cigar. She laced her fingers through one of my hands and used the other to take the cigar from my lips and extinguish it. Ethan, please don't hurt your own body because of my mistakes, okay? Claire whispered, pressing herself against me. Honey, it's been so long since we... Claire's hands started to work on the buttons of my shirt, but I stopped her with a firm grip on her wrist. I sent the children to my parents' estate. I have no desire for them to come from a broken home. I will respect you as their mother, but I will not tolerate your behavior. Do you understand? I pushed her away. I saw the surprise in her eyes quickly morph into fear. My voice was dead serious. Furthermore, I expect you to act out of your responsibility as my wife, not by using your body as a bargaining chip. With that, I stood and walked toward my study. Just as I opened the door, I turned back, my tone final. I'm telling you this with the utmost seriousness. An incident like this is the first and the last time. You will not get a second chance. Her eyes were red as she nodded emphatically. Ethan, I promise. Absolutely, definitely never again. The next day, the first thing Claire did was publicly fire Leo Vance. He immediately became the office pariah, openly mocked by his fair-weather colleagues. Well, isn't it our swimming champion? What happened? Get fired? Weren't you just bragging about the pendant Mrs. Sterling bought you a few days ago? Did you ever think she'd take it back? He could only slink away like a beaten dog. After that day, my life with Claire seemed to return to normal. She appeared to have transformed back into the dutiful wife and mother. Seeing her improved behavior, I brought the children home. Ethan, she said, I wasn't thinking clearly before. Now, I just want to be a part of our children's lives as they grow up. Perhaps softened by the sound of my children's laughter, I even found myself forgiving some of her transgressions. But I never forgot about Leo Vance. I'm a vindictive man. I had my assistant keep tabs on him and look out for him from time to time. If you dare to covet what is mine, you must be prepared to pay the price. But I never expected Claire would dare to deceive me by walking so close to my absolute limit. One day, a message from Mark suddenly appeared. Ethan, did someone raid your castle? I went to your father-in-law's company, Mercer Holdings, to discuss a deal today. And guess who the new CEO is? That pretty boy. The attached photo showed Leo Vance in a bespoke suit, looking arrogant and successful, with no trace of the pathetic wretch who was thrown into the ocean. And there, on his person, was the reacquired pendant. It was blindingly offensive. Claire Mercer, I really underestimated you. I laughed, a string of cold, sharp sounds, and drove home. As I reached the front door, I could hear Claire talking to the children, bad-mouthing me. From now on, no one in this house is to mention his name. He was planning to ship you off to work in an African diamond mine. If I hadn't stopped him, you don't have to thank me too much. What else is a mother for? All I asked for is a few of his company shares in return. My fists clenched, my face turning to stone as I walked inside. Claire's words caught in her throat. The panic on her face was immediate and obvious. Claire, I entrust our children to you, and this is how you raise them. The moment they saw me, our 2 children ran over and hugged my legs. Daddy, Mommy is trying to turn us against you. I gestured for the children to go to their rooms, then turned my gaze to Claire. For the sake of the children, I'm giving you one chance to explain yourself. Talk. Claire's face was a mask of irritation and impatience. Explain what? I made a couple of jokes about you at home. Is an apology not enough? I slammed my hand on the table, my patience completely gone. You're not going to talk? Fine. I'll talk for you. Claire Mercer, you've gotten bold. You think you can play these games right under my nose. My time is limited. Sign it. Seeing the divorce papers I threw onto the table, Claire's eyes immediately reddened. What is wrong with you today? Do you think divorce is some kind of game? I've devoted myself to our family. I haven't even gone out recently. On what grounds are you divorcing me? Why don't you just accuse me of still being entangled with Leo Vance? Can you stop taking your anger out on me the second you walk in the door? What if you scare the children? I'm not your punching bag. Think about what you're doing. With that, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The children were startled by our explosive argument. To comfort them, I decided to take them to a charity auction to pick out a gift. But as soon as we arrived, I heard someone exclaim, "Look, that's the CEO of Mercer Holdings." So Mr. Mercer stepped down for his son-in-law. It was Leo Vance, smiling brilliantly, his confident face showing no signs of his humiliating ordeal. And on his arm was my wife, Claire, who had just stormed out of our house. She was dressed in a couture gown, holding on to Leo's arm as they walked into a private suite. Her eyes met mine for a fleeting second before she deliberately looked away, as if my children and I were complete strangers. When she heard someone in the crowd refer to Leo as Mr. Mercer, she just smiled and nodded, offering no correction. The auction began. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Look, Mr. Vance is going all out for his lady. He's making it rain. Wow, he's so generous to spend that much on his wife. I'm so jealous. Don't you know? Mrs. Mercer just spent $9 million on her husband a few weeks ago. It must be some kind of love game they play. Claire looked at him with an indulgent smile, a hint of triumph playing on her lips. My children heard the chatter, their faces showing a calmness far beyond their years. If Mommy wants to be with that bad man, then Daddy should just get us a new mommy. To make a child say something like that, Claire was truly one of a kind. I gently stroked my child's head. Don't worry, we're sitting at the dinner table. People like them belong on the menu. They don't even qualify as villains. Glancing at the two of them, basking in the spotlight, I said in a cold voice, and as the future heirs of the Sterling Corporation, today, your father is going to use them to teach you a lesson. A lesson in how to remove an undesirable dish from a menu and what the fury of a top-tier dynasty truly looks like. Under the curious gaze of my children, I froze Claire's supplementary card again. At the same time, I made a phone call. She, of course, was completely oblivious. When the next item came up for bidding, Leo Vance, as before, made the gesture to buy it outright at a ridiculous price. The room erupted in another wave of murmurs. Mr. Vance is incredible. The Mercer family must have endless resources. I'm so envious. But their moment in the spotlight was short-lived. Soon, auction house staff entered their private suite. What? You don't know who I am? You need to verify my funds. Claire's composure shattered the moment she saw the staff. Ma'am, we're just following protocol. Please understand. She impatiently pulled out a black card, her eyes flashing with annoyance. But that expression didn't last long. Ma'am, your card has been frozen. It currently has a zero balance. According to our rules, we must ask you to leave. Hearing this only made Claire more furious. Get your manager. Don't you know I'm Mr. Sterling's wife? How dare you speak to me like that? Are you not afraid of being fired tomorrow? But the staff member didn't show the slightest hint of fear. Ma'am, you are attending as the companion of the CEO of Mercer Holdings, yet you claim to be our Mr. Sterling's wife. Furthermore, according to the latest information we've received, Mr. Sterling is currently filing for divorce from you. So, as a matter of principle, we cannot extend you any courtesies. Hearing this, Claire could no longer contain herself and stormed into my suite. Leo Vance trailed behind her. What is the meaning of this? Claire demanded, her voice sharp. I shrugged. Your last chance has been used up. Let's get a divorce. No, Ethan, it's not what you think. Seeing my face set like granite and the complete absence of any feeling in my eyes, Claire's face went white. I threw a copy of the divorce agreement at her. Sign it, I said coldly. There's nothing left to say between us. Leo Vance instantly dropped to his knees. Mr. Sterling, what's between Mrs. Mercer and me? It's really not what you think, he pleaded. You know, I was in college until recently. My relationship with Mrs. Mercer has been strictly professional. There's absolutely nothing else between us. He was trembling, his eyes wide with terror. Ethan Sterling, what the hell do you want? I didn't say a word when you fired Leo, so why are you trying to stop him from getting another job now? Besides, you know perfectly well whether anything happened between us or not. Why do you have to make things so difficult for him? I shook my head, looking at the woman who was losing her mind over Leo Vance, and I began to applaud. Bravo, truly bravo. Everywhere my gaze landed, people who met my dark eyes immediately joined the applause. Claire's face flushed a deep crimson, a flash of madness in her eyes. I believe you, Claire, but what does that prove? Have you not noticed that your behavior has become more and more outrageous? Nothing happened this time. What about next time? And don't tell me there won't be a next time. Your promises are worth less than nothing to me now. I can give you a chance. I offered. Right here, right now, you shatter both of his hands, and I promise I will support him and his family for the rest of his life. Will you do it? Hearing my words, Claire stared at me, her expression filled with profound confusion and a sense of looking a stranger. How long are you going to keep this up? I remember. You were never like this before. As she spoke, she snatched a decorative porcelain vase from a side table and hurled it to the floor. A surge of alarm went through me, and I quickly pulled my children behind me. A shard of porcelain sliced across my chest, and blood instantly began to well. Claire froze, her anger replaced by panic as she moved to check my wound. But I was oblivious to my own injury. I let out a cold laugh and threw the divorce papers at her feet. Claire Mercer, have you forgotten how you achieved your status today? I am giving you a choice, not an invitation to change the subject. But it doesn't matter. You've already made your choice, so what more is there for me to say? Sign the papers now. The Sterling family name has been built over a century. I will not allow it to be tarnished by a woman who is disloyal to her marriage and derelict in her duty to her family. Hearing this, her face twisted in anguish and fury. What are you trying to say? I stood up, looking at Claire with utter disappointment, my eyes devoid of any emotion. Exactly what it sounds like. With that, I had my assistant take the children and left for the hospital to get stitched up. Less than 10 minutes later, Claire's parents, the Mercers, arrived at the hospital. Ethan, my boy, has Claire been giving you trouble? If so, you just tell me, and I'll take care of. Mr. Mercer began, his voice full of false bonhomie. Then they saw the blood seeping through the fresh bandages on my chest, and the warm smiles froze on their faces. Mrs. Mercer sat beside me, her expression a mixture of pity for me and deep resentment for her daughter. Mr. and Mrs. Mercer, there's no need for this, I said calmly. Your daughter, for an assistant who bears a passing resemblance to her first love from college, has not only dragged him to high-profile events, tarnishing the Sterling name, but has now physically assaulted me for his sake. I believe the connection between our two families has run its course. Seeing the calm finality in my expression, they knew I wasn't bluffing. The color drained from their faces. "Ethan, we're all family here. Let's not talk like strangers," Mrs. Mercer pleaded, grabbing my hand. "Besides, all couples fight. You don't need to go as far as divorce." Mr. Mercer, meanwhile, snatched up his phone and furiously dialed Claire. "Hello. I don't care what you're doing or which pretty boy you're with. You get your ass to this hospital right now," he roared. "If I don't see you in 20 minutes, you are no longer welcome in my house." Mrs. Mercer's eyes were red, and she watched me as if I might bolt at any second. It was no wonder. Their family business only existed because of my support. Even after losing $10 billion in market value yesterday, they were still worth 10 times what they were before I came along. Now that Claire had failed to secure her position as Mrs. Sterling, how could they possibly rest easy? My demeanor toward them was cool and distant. I offered brief replies when necessary, but otherwise focused on the work I was doing on my tablet. The thought of that pretty boy made me want to laugh. A fresh college graduate, barely on his feet, and he already thought he could seduce his way to the top. He had no idea how cruel this world is or what kind of behemoth he had provoked. A nobody with no foundation. The resources I could discard without a thought would be enough to crush him completely. And as Claire's legal husband, with years of holding the dominant position in our family's joint ventures, why would I ever lower myself to compete with him over who is younger or who better resembled a dead man? As for Claire, I wasn't going to just let it go. Even if we divorced, I would ensure her life was anything but easy. The first rule of business is to leverage every asset at your disposal to acquire resources. Previously, I was unwilling to use her as a pawn out of a sense of duty to my family. But now look at how she had treated me. Before, she could sit at the negotiating table, shielded by the title of Mrs. Sterling. But after living that life for so long, she seemed to have forgotten that she was once nothing more than a side dish on that table. 15 minutes later, a worried-looking Claire appeared in the hospital room. But I never expected that trailing behind her was that same pretty boy, Leo Vance. I couldn't help but let out a dry, mirthless laugh. She was a genuine fool. To bring him here at a time like this. Does he have no autonomy? Can he not survive without Claire Mercer holding his hand? Seeing the bandages on my chest, a flicker of something, guilt, maybe, crossed her face. "Dad, it's not what you think. We were in a meeting, and he just came in and started attacking Leo for no reason." Her father's expression soured. "So, what's your point? Who is he to you? You disregarded Ethan's reputation and even raised a hand to him, all for this." "Boy," she glanced at me, then pressed her fingers to her temple, at a loss for words. She couldn't possibly explain the real situation here. My assistant had already run a full background check. With Leo Vance's qualifications, there was no way he could have landed a position at our partner firm. It was obvious Claire had pulled strings to get him in, but she couldn't admit that now. In front of an outsider, her father's temper flared. He pointed a finger at Claire's nose and let loose a merciless tirade. "Speak up. Why are you silent now? You seemed to have a lot to say when you were attacking Ethan, didn't you?" Seeing my bandages, Claire's face flushed with guilt. I didn't give her the chance to speak, cutting her off. "That's right, you didn't attack me. This wound is from me accidentally falling on the vase you shattered. And that vase, I held your hand and forced you to throw it." Hearing my sarcastic defense, her father slapped her hard across the face. "What is wrong with you? After all these years of marriage, have you still not learned how to be a proper wife?" The slap was forceful, leaving a clear, red handprint on her pale cheek. Leo Vance, standing to the side, went white with fear and instinctively took a step forward to check on her. I saw Mrs. Mercer's face turn to stone. That single, boundary-crossing movement had pushed her over the edge. "Ethan is injured like this, and not only did you fail to bring him to the hospital immediately, but you brought this thing," she seethed. "Even if you have no shame, we do." Mr. Mercer's hand shot out, pointing directly at Leo. The smile on Leo's face froze. He looked around, finally realizing that this was not the time or place for a display of affection. He gave a nervous laugh and started to back away, but Mr. Mercer kicked him, sending him sprawling to the floor. "What do you think you are? This is our family business. Who gave you permission to listen in? And you, Claire, I want to know what you were thinking. Even if you're fighting with Ethan, you're not even divorced yet. and you're already bringing your boy toy around. Do you think your mother and I are in such good health that you want to speed up the process of us dying from a heart attack? It's because of you that the family company lost nearly $10 billion in market value. When Leo Vance heard Mr. Mercer say that, he scrambled to explain. Sir, you've misunderstood. I'm just Mrs. Mercer's assistant. There's really nothing between us. An assistant who doesn't know what he should and shouldn't hear. Besides that face of yours, what do you have that's worth remembering? You're lower than dirt. Get the hell out of my sight. Mr. Mercer snarled, slapping him across the face. Claire had wanted to defend him, but her father's last words had stunned her into silence. Dad, what did you just say? What $10 billion loss? Mrs. Mercer looked at her daughter with heartbreak, her eyes full of sorrowful accusation. You didn't know? The day you fought with Ethan, the company's market value plummeted. What kind of CEO are you? I see you've been so busy with this pretty boy that you've completely neglected the company. When you said you want to be CEO, we all told you to focus on your family. Ethan was the only one who supported you, who made it happen for you. And this is how you repay him. Claire didn't hear another word her mother said. She was fixated on the number. $10 billion. Ethan, honey, I was truly wrong, she cried, collapsing beside my hospital bed, her face finally filled with genuine terror. I shouldn't have bought him that pendant at the auction. It's all your fault, she suddenly shrieked, turning on Leo Vance and slapping him hard. If it weren't for you, how could our company have lost so much money? Pay it back. Pay it back now. I'll see you in court. You'll rot in jail. Hearing that he had to pay the money back, Leo panicked. He was just a recent college graduate. Where'd he get that kind of money? He had taken out loans just to pay for the plastic surgery to get his face. The salary Claire gave him had only just covered those loans. All of this was detailed in the report my assistant had given me. It even listed the clinic where he had the surgery and his recovery time. Claire, he stammered, didn't you say you were giving me those things as a gift? Willingly? Besides, didn't you earn that money from your dance? What does that have to do with Mr. Sterling? He didn't give you a cent for it. Lying in my bed, I watched them turn on each other like rabid dogs. It was a fascinating spectacle. When self-interest is on the line, everyone is the same. Out! Claire screamed. Security, throw him out. After getting rid of Leo, Claire looked at me, her eyes brimming with panic. Ethan, it's not what you think. I was just momentarily swayed by him. I never cheated on you. Please, can you give me one more chance? Please. I'll get the money from the auction back. Can you just give me one more chance? Her parents also looked at her, their disappointment palpable, then turned to me. Ethan, we are all family. Besides, you and Claire are still young. Young people make mistakes. We believe they can be corrected or forgiven. What do you think? Yes, her mother added. For the sake of the children she gave you, maybe we can just let this go. As for the company's losses, we won't try to recover them. The money is not important. What's important is the relationship between you and Claire. I casually picked up a small mirror from the bedside table and dropped it on the floor, where it shattered. Fine, I said, my voice cold and flat. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. Now, either you piece that mirror back together perfectly, or you repay me 100 times the loss. If you can't do either of those, then this matter is concluded. As for the children, I have even less to say. Since their birth, besides the few weeks after they were born, Claire has barely been involved. You never asked about them either. My parents hired nannies and oversaw their upbringing. What does any of it have to do with you? Legally speaking, the children are over the age where they are required to stay with their mother. Or, let's put it this way. I want to buy out her custody and visitation rights. Name your price. I had blocked every possible escape route. Claire stared at me, her eyes welling with tears, finally realizing that I was truly and irrevocably leaving her. She couldn't say a word because she knew I had already given her more chances than she deserved. My original intention had been to make her pay tenfold. It was only a lingering sentiment for our years together that made me soften my stance later. But no more. No, it's not like that, she pleaded. Ethan, I really didn't cheat. I just had a lapse in judgment. I know you want to pay tenfold. I'll sell everything I own. Once I pay back the tenfold amount, we can go back to how things were before, right? It was as if a switch had been flipped. A fire of hope was rekindled in her eyes. But in the next second, I shattered it completely. No, for my enemies, my policy is tenfold retribution. If you want reconciliation, the the price is 100-fold. Think about it. If the cost of making a mistake is always so low, people will never take it seriously. You and I are both in business. You should understand this logic without me having to explain it. Claire, ask yourself honestly, haven't I given you enough chances, but you ignored them time and time again? So what else is there to say? You're not sorry because you realize you were wrong. You're sorry because you realize your company is about to die. I'm sure you're well aware by now that by sheltering under our protection, you made many enemies. The moment you leave our orbit, your company will be devoured by sharks. I can give you a 1-month grace period, but what price are you prepared to pay for it? And don't talk about what we once had. I wanted to consider that too, but you've used up all of that goodwill. Affection is built on a foundation of mutual benefit and respect, is it not? I've said all I need to say. You should all leave now. I need to be alone. As I finished, my executive assistant was already ushering them out. They still didn't want to give up, but a single cold glance from me sent them retreating in fear. If you don't want to end up completely bankrupt, I suggest you don't come back. At that moment, Claire crumpled to the floor, sobbing like a child. She understood, finally, that I was gone from her life for good. There was nothing left between us. After a moment's thought, I looked at her one last time. Don't even think about using the children to manipulate me. My children do not need a fickle mother. They certainly don't need a mother who gets involved with her assistants. Don't worry. I will tell them you passed away. It will preserve your image in their minds. Even though you were barely there for them, they will want to believe their mother was a good and faithful person. I know you didn't cheat, Claire, but what does that prove? You enabled so many things. You enabled his petty schemes, his provocations. I am a businessman, not a gambler. I will not wager years of my life and my family's reputation on whether or not you will remain faithful. It's a very simple calculation. Only the foot knows if the shoe fits. But when an apple is rotten, you throw it away. In the days that followed, Claire refused to sign the divorce papers. It didn't matter. I filed for contested divorce through the courts. Her parents still had business contracts with my company. They would have to continue working for me, even at a loss. And every time Claire tried to see the children from a distance, she would eventually hear me telling them that their mother was dead and that her dying wish was to have seen them one last time, but that it was, sadly, impossible. That is my stance. In matters of the heart, if you forgive someone once, you open the door to forgiving them countless times. Your partner will test your boundaries again and again, forcing you to lower your standards each time. As I said before, I do not give many chances. She did eventually recognize her mistake. But by then, what did it matter? My life really is not missing a Claire Mercer, and I have no need for her belated apology.